The first time my nephew laughed at me inside my own rental house, he was standing beside a wall he had cut open, without permission. Fresh sawdust covered the carpet. A bundle of electrical cable hung between two exposed studs, joined with plastic caps that were never meant to be buried inside a wall. Behind him, his wife carried grocery bags into the kitchen, while two of their children argued over who would sleep in the basement. "You can't move into somebody's property and start remodeling it, Tyler," I said. He smiled as though I had made a harmless old man joke. "Uncle Frank, we're family. What are you going to do, call the city?" I looked at the open wiring, the missing smoke detector, and the plywood covering the basement window. "No," I said. "You already did." 9 days later, a city inspector stood on that same carpet, holding a permit application carrying an authorization I had never given and a signature I had never written. That was when Tyler stopped laughing. "My name is Frank Mercer." I was 68 years old when this happened, and I had spent 37 years working as a licensed electrician in and around Dayton, Ohio. I was not rich. I owned my home, a 10-year-old pickup, and one small rental property on Briarwood Avenue. My wife, Elaine, and I had bought the rental 24 years earlier. It was a plain 3-bedroom house with tan siding, a narrow driveway, and a maple tree that dropped leaves faster than anyone could rake them. When we bought it, the wiring was outdated, the kitchen cabinets leaned forward, and 6 layers of wallpaper covered the dining room walls. I replaced the electrical system. Elaine stripped wallpaper and painted every room. For 2 months, we ate weekend lunches on overturned buckets because we had not bothered bringing chairs. We never planned to build a property empire. The house was supposed to provide a little retirement income and become something stable we could leave behind. Elaine called it our patient little house. "It never gives us much at once," she used to say, "but it keeps giving." After she died, the rent paid the taxes, insurance, and maintenance. More than that, looking after the property gave shape to my weeks. I inspected the gutters in spring, serviced the furnace every fall, and kept every receipt in labeled folders. That habit came from my trade. Electricity does not care what people intended. A connection is either secure or it is waiting to fail. Families can work the same way. Tyler was the only son of my younger brother, James. James died in a highway collision when Tyler was 12. I still remembered that boy sitting in a hospital hallway, staring at the floor while adults around him tried to find words that did not exist. That night, I promised myself James's son would never feel he had lost every man he could depend on. I taught Tyler to drive, helped with community college tuition, and found him work when he needed it. When jobs ended, bills came due, or landlords lost patience, I usually heard his explanation before I considered anyone else's. There was always an explanation. A supervisor had singled him out. A customer had misunderstood. A payment had gone to the wrong account. A landlord had changed the rules. Tyler was capable of working hard when a result came quickly. He could replace a deck, move furniture all day, or rebuild a motorcycle engine overnight. What he could not tolerate was accountability that arrived slowly. He disliked contracts, schedules, permits, and any process that required him to accept limits. Elaine recognized that before I did. Once, after I covered a late truck payment for him, she looked at the unsigned repayment agreement on my desk. "He says whatever gets him through the next doorway," she told me. I defended him by saying he had lost his father young. "That explains why you love him," she said. "It doesn't explain why you protect him from every consequence." I disliked that sentence then. After she was gone, I heard it more clearly. The trouble began after my longtime tenant, Mrs. Alvarez, moved to Arizona to live near her daughter. She had rented the Briarwood house for 11 years and cared for it better than many people care for homes they own. She reported problems early, planted flowers beneath the front windows, and mailed the rent before the first of every month. When she handed me the keys, she held them in both hands. "This was a good home to me," Mr. Mercer, she said. Choose carefully who gets it next. I promised I would. My plan was to leave the house empty for 6 weeks. I wanted to repaint, replace the kitchen counters, repair the back fence, and then hire a property manager to screen applicants. Tyler knew it was vacant because I had offered him 2 days of paid work, helping me remove the old counters. He declined. He said his back was bothering him. At the time, Tyler and his wife, Erica, were already behind on their apartment rent. His work van was close to repossession, and he had been trying to start a small home repair business with Erica's brother, Cody. I knew they were struggling. I did not know Tyler had decided my empty house was the solution. 3 days after he rejected the work, Dorothy Baines called me. Dorothy lived across from the rental. She was 73, wore bright reading glasses on a chain, and noticed everything on Briarwood Avenue, without ever admitting she watched the street. "Frank," she said, "did you rent the house to your nephew?" I was in my garage sharpening a mower blade. "No." "Well, somebody who looks exactly like him carried a television through the front door yesterday." I put down the blade. "Was anyone else with him?" "His wife, 3 children, and a man with a neck tattoo. They've made at least 4 trips." The man with the tattoo was Cody. "Did they use a key?" "They did yesterday. This morning, a locksmith changed the front lock. I was in my truck within 5 minutes. 2 vehicles filled the driveway when I arrived. A utility trailer stood near the garage. Children's bicycles lay in the grass, and a sofa cushion was wedged in the front doorway. Tyler stepped outside before I reached the porch. He did not look ashamed. He looked relieved, as though I had arrived to help unload. "Uncle Frank," he said, "I was going to call you tonight. What are you doing here?" His expression became serious in a practiced way. "We had to leave the apartment." "That does not answer my question. The landlord wanted everything we owed by Friday. Then he threatened court. We needed somewhere stable for the kids. So you moved into my house. Temporarily, without asking. I knew you would help. You did not give me the opportunity to decide." He glanced through the open doorway. Erica stood in the hall, holding a grocery bag and a package of smoke detector batteries. She looked from Tyler to me. "You said he agreed," she told him. Tyler's jaw tightened. "I said he would agree." "That is not the same thing," she said. He lowered his voice. "Can we not argue in front of the kids?" It was an old method of his. He created the disruption, then treated any discussion of it as the real disturbance. I asked for a key to the new lock. "I'll make you a copy," he said. "You changed the lock on a property you do not own. The old one was loose. It was installed last year." He spread his hands. "Fine, I should have called, but we're already here, and you weren't using the place." That sentence stayed with me. You weren't using it. As though property became available whenever its owner stepped away. "I need everyone outside while I inspect the house," I said. Tyler gave a tired laugh. "Inspect it for what?" For whatever you did after changing my locks." I entered before he could answer. The dining room light fixture had been removed. A new cable disappeared through a rough opening in the ceiling. An orange extension cord had been stapled along the baseboard toward the kitchen. The smoke detector in the hallway was on the floor. Erica held up the batteries. "I was going to replace them," she said. "Why was the detector removed?" Tyler answered. "It kept chirping. So you replaced the battery?" "I took it down until we bought one." Erica looked at him. "You told me it was broken." "It was making noise." "That is what it does when the battery is low," I said. Then I heard a drill beneath us. I opened the basement door. Cody stood at the bottom of the stairs with a cordless drill in his hand. Behind him, plywood panels divided the basement into 2 narrow spaces. A portable propane heater stood near a mattress and several plastic storage bins. A power strip had been plugged into another power strip. Together, they supplied the heater, a small refrigerator, 2 lamps, and a phone charger. The cover had been removed from the electrical panel. A new cable entered through the top. My stomach tightened. "Turn off the heater and unplug those strips," I said. Cody looked at Tyler rather than me. Tyler sighed. "It isn't even running. It does not belong in this basement. We need heat down there. The furnace heats the basement. Not enough for bedrooms. There are no bedrooms down there." "There will be." I went downstairs. The basement had two small windows. One was almost completely covered by a plywood shelf. Boxes blocked the other. There was no safe emergency exit from either proposed room. I examined the new circuit. The cable was the wrong type for part of the route. The box was overcrowded. The grounding was incomplete, and one connection had been made outside an approved enclosure. I switched off the breaker. Tyler followed me. "Why did you do that?" "Because this is unsafe." I installed it. That does not improve the situation. I worked for an HVAC company for 7 months. I know basic electrical. You know enough to make something work. You do not know enough to make it safe. Cody gave a short laugh. I looked at him, and he stopped. Back upstairs, I asked Erica what Tyler had told her about the house. She adjusted the baby on her hip. "He said you were letting us stay while he fixed it up. I did not know you were moving in." Her eyes moved to Tyler. "He stepped between us. I said I knew you would help. You also said Frank planned to transfer the house to us," Erica said. Tyler stared at her. "Eventually." I turned to him. "Why would you say that? You always said you wanted to keep the place in the family. After my death, same difference in the long run." "No," I said, "it is not. I told Cody to remove his tools and leave. I told Tyler no one would sleep in the basement or garage. No additional work would be done, and the panel would remain untouched." Tyler leaned against the counter. "You can't put 3 children outside." "I am not doing that. I am telling you this property cannot be occupied this way. It's a house, Uncle Frank. People live in houses. Not in rooms with blocked exits. Not beside open wiring. Not with a propane heater in the basement." He smiled. "You always do this." "Do what?" "Make everything sound like an emergency because you know technical words." I waited before answering. "I know what damaged wiring looks like before it becomes a fire report." He tapped the counter twice. "We're staying." It was not a request. I looked at Erica. She was still holding the batteries. "Do not let the children downstairs," I told her. "And do not let anyone turn that circuit back on." She nodded. Tyler shook his head. "You're upset. Go home and sleep on it. Come back when you're ready to talk like family." "I will come back tomorrow morning. And if we don't agree, I will handle it properly." He followed me to the porch. "What are you going to do, call the city?" I looked back at the unfinished wall. "No," I said. "You already did." At that moment, he did not understand what I meant. Neither did I, completely. I drove home and sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad. I wrote down every person I had seen, every unsafe condition, and every statement I could remember. I added the time I arrived and the time I left. Then I photographed the pages and emailed them to myself. Memory changes. Dates do not. My next call was to Susan Patel, a property attorney Elaine and I had used when we updated our wills. Susan spoke carefully and never guessed when she could verify. "Did you give Tyler written or verbal permission to occupy the house?" she asked. "No." "Did you accept rent?" "No." "Did you promise him ownership?" "No." "Does he receive mail there?" "Not that I know of." "Then do not accept money from him. Do not shut off utilities. Do not remove belongings. Do not change the locks while people are inside." "How quickly can I get them out?" "That depends on how he responds to formal notice." I did not like that answer, but I trusted it. Susan prepared a written notice stating that Tyler had no permission to occupy, alter, advertise, sublet, or collect money connected to the property. She also warned me that ownership carried duties. "If the city finds unsafe conditions, the compliance order may be issued to you," she said. "Even though he caused them? You are the owner. That is different from being the wrongdoer. I understood. The next morning, I returned with the notice and a temporary proposal of my own. I was willing to let Erica and the children remain in the approved upstairs bedrooms for 14 days while they found housing. During that period, Tyler would remove Cody, stop all construction, return owner access, and allow licensed inspections. I would not charge rent. I would also pay an apartment application fee directly to a legitimate landlord. It was more generous than Susan recommended. It was also the last time guilt wrote the first draft of my boundaries. Tyler read the proposal on the porch. "You expect me to sign this?" "Yes. It says I admit I had no permission." "You had no permission." "It says Cody cannot stay. He cannot sleep in the garage. He is my business partner. This is not your business property." His eyes moved down the page. No alterations, no additional occupants, no advertising, no money collected from anyone. He looked up. "That last part is insulting. Then it should be easy to sign." Erica stood behind him. "What money?" she asked. "Nothing," Tyler said. He tore the agreement in half. Erica flinched. "You come here with a lawyer's notice and call that helping?" he said. "I came with 2 weeks of housing and direct assistance for your children. You came to control us." "No, I came to control my property." He stepped closer. "You promised my father you would look after me." The words hit where he intended. For a second, I saw James beside him, the brother who could make every bad decision sound temporary. "I promised to care about you," I said. "I did not promise you everything I own." He dropped the torn pages onto the porch. "Then do what you have to do." I bent down, collected both pieces, and placed them in my folder. "I will." As I walked toward my truck, Dorothy called my name from across the street. She waited until Tyler closed the door, then crossed the road holding her phone. "I think you should see this." On the screen was an online listing. Rooms available. Family home utilities included, no credit check. The photographs showed my basement and garage. One image displayed the plywood partitions. Another showed 2 mattresses beneath the shelf, blocking the window. The garage photograph included a hot plate and portable heater. The listing offered each space for $650 per month, plus a deposit. The contact number belonged to Tyler. "When was this posted?" I asked. 4 days ago. Before moving his family into the house, Tyler had already advertised parts of it to strangers. "What money?" Erica had asked. Now I knew. I called Susan from my truck. She told me to preserve screenshots, web addresses, dates, and payment records if I found any. That afternoon, a young man arrived at the house carrying a suitcase and a canvas tool bag. I had returned to photograph the exterior and wait for a locksmith to document the changed lock without replacing it. The young man knocked twice. No one answered. He called someone, waited, and started toward the side gate. I introduced myself. "My name is Frank Mercer. I own this property." His expression changed. Tyler said he owned it. "What is your name?" "Miguel Santos." "Did you pay him?" $650 for the deposit. The first month is due Friday. "Do you have a receipt?" He showed me the payment confirmation on his phone. The note read, "Basement room." Miguel worked nights at a distribution center. He had been sleeping on his cousin's sofa and needed somewhere near the bus route. I told him the basement was not approved or safe for sleeping. He looked toward the house. "So the money is gone." I did not say that. It usually means that. I asked him to send the listing and receipt to Susan. Then I wrote him a check for the amount Tyler had taken. Miguel looked at it but did not reach for it. "You didn't take my money." "No, but it was taken using my house." He accepted the check with both hands. 2 days later, a woman contacted Susan after Miguel shared her number. She and her sister had each paid deposits for the garage space. By then, we could document at least $1,950 Tyler had collected from people he had no right to house. I sent him copies of the payment confirmations with a written demand that he return the money. His reply came by text. "Stop harassing my tenants." That message ended my belief that Tyler had merely acted out of panic. He had not simply moved into an empty house because his family faced eviction. He had built an income plan around the assumption that I would be too sentimental to stop him. Susan began the legal process to recover possession. That evening, my sister-in-law Marlene called. She had been James's wife, and I loved her, but Tyler knew how to present a story to his mother. "He says you're trying to make the children homeless," she said. "I offered to pay for temporary housing. He says the agreement was humiliating. It required him to admit the house was not his. He thought you intended to leave it to him." "I never said that. Frank, he has already spent money improving the place. He showed me city paperwork." I sat straighter. "What city paperwork?" "A permit. He said the renovations were approved." I opened my laptop before the call ended. The city's online property portal showed a recently submitted permit application associated with the Briarwood address. The application requested approval to convert the attached garage into habitable space and add 2 basement bedrooms. It identified the project as owner-authorized work. A scanned authorization page carried my name. Below it was a signature made to resemble mine. Tyler had copied it from an old furnace estimate I had signed years earlier. The application had not yet been approved. Several documents were still under review. But Tyler had already logged into the permit system and scheduled a preliminary rough-in inspection for the following Tuesday, claiming that framing and electrical work were ready to be examined. He had expected the inspector to approve what he had built and make his claim to the house look official. Instead, he had invited the city into a property filled with evidence. I called Susan. "Do not cancel the inspection," she said. We submitted a written ownership statement, the deed, examples of my real signature, photographs of the unsafe work, and the notice prohibiting Tyler from making alterations. The city flagged the application as disputed, but kept the scheduled visit as a compliance and rough work inspection. "The inspector may issue orders against the property," Susan reminded me. "I know. The inspection will not automatically remove Tyler. I know that too." "Then understand what Tuesday is. It is evidence, not magic." That sentence steadied me. Real solutions rarely arrive in one envelope or one dramatic conversation. They arrive in records, dates, witnesses, and people doing their jobs. Over the weekend, Tyler placed a sign in the front window. "Private residence, no trespassing, including owner." Then he called my daughter, Rachel, in Michigan. He told her I was confused, vindictive, and still unstable from Elaine's death. Rachel called me immediately. "Dad, I don't believe him," she said, "but I need to hear your voice." I told her everything. When I finished, she asked, "Are you safe?" "I'm angry." That wasn't my question. I looked across the kitchen at Elaine's chair. "I'm safe," I said. "I'm also embarrassed." "Why?" "Your mother warned me about Tyler years ago." Rachel paused. "Mom warned everybody about everything." I laughed despite myself. Then her voice softened. "You helped him because you loved Uncle James. That wasn't wrong. Continuing after the help became harmful would be wrong." It sounded like something Elaine might have said, only less gently. On Monday evening, Erica called from a number I did not recognize. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Tyler went out with Cody. Are you and the children safe?" "Yes." "Where are the children now?" "Upstairs with me. I haven't let them into the basement since you came." I closed my eyes briefly. "Thank you. I need to ask you something. Did you ever tell Tyler the house would become his if he fixed it?" "No." "Did you ask him to collect rent?" "No." "Did you sign the city application?" "No." She exhaled. "He told me the transfer was already being prepared. He said we moved in early because the paperwork was taking too long." "I'm sorry. I sold most of our furniture because he said we would buy new things once the rental money started coming in." I heard shame in her voice. It did not belong to her. Erica, trusting your husband is not the same as helping him lie. He says the inspection will prove the house is legal. It will prove whatever the inspector finds. She became quiet. Then she said, "There's a folder in the bedroom closet. Inside were printed copies of the room listings, payment records, rough construction estimates, and a handwritten budget." Tyler had calculated how much he could collect from 2 basement rooms and the garage after covering the utilities. At the bottom of the page, he had written, "Uncle Frank won't evict family. Worst case, pay him later." That sentence ended the last argument I had been having with myself. Tyler had not misunderstood my kindness. He had calculated it. I told Erica not to take Tyler's property or place herself in danger. She had access to the household papers because Tyler had shown them to her while explaining their finances. She photographed the relevant pages and sent them to Susan. Then I asked whether she had somewhere to go. "My mother has a 1-bedroom apartment," she said. "We can stay there for a few nights. I will pay the deposit directly on a 2-bedroom apartment near the children's school." "I don't want your money. This is not payment to Tyler. It is protection for the children," she cried quietly. "I should have known. You questioned him the first day I arrived. Then you called me when his story stopped making sense. That is what matters now." The city inspector arrived Tuesday morning at 9:15. Her name was Renee Coleman. She wore a navy jacket, steel-toed boots, and carried a tablet beneath one arm. Because the application involved electrical alterations, a municipal electrical inspector named Howard Lee accompanied her. Susan had advised me to attend, remain calm, provide documents when asked, and avoid arguing about ownership inside the house. Tyler opened the front door before we reached the porch. When he saw me, his face tightened. "You're not coming inside." Inspector Coleman checked her tablet. "Are you Tyler Mercer?" "Yes." "You submitted a permit application for alterations at this address and scheduled a rough-in inspection." "That's right. Mr. Frank Mercer is listed as the property owner and authorizing party." Tyler pointed at me. "He's upset because we had a family disagreement. He'll calm down." Coleman turned to me. "Did you authorize the application?" "No." Tyler laughed. It was not a confident laugh. It was the sound a man makes when he needs everyone else to believe the situation is still ordinary. "Come on, Uncle Frank. You told me to fix the place. I told you not to touch the wiring. You said the house would stay in the family. That was not permission to occupy it, alter it, rent rooms, or sign my name." Coleman raised one hand. "I'm not deciding the family dispute. I'm inspecting the work described in the application and documenting the conditions." Tyler stepped aside. "Good. Inspect it. Then maybe he'll stop pretending the house is dangerous." That was his final mistake. He believed the inspection would prove I had exaggerated. Coleman began in the kitchen. She photographed the missing hallway detector, the extension cord attached to the baseboard, and the section of cabinet removed for a second refrigerator. Erica came down the stairs carrying the baby. "The detector was on the floor when we arrived," she said. "I bought batteries, but Tyler said not to reinstall it because he planned to replace all of them." Tyler stared at her. "No one asked you." Coleman looked at him. "I did." In the garage, she found a mattress, blankets, a hot plate, a portable heater, and an extension cord running beneath the laundry room door. Gasoline for the mower stood only a few feet from the sleeping area. "This space is not approved for habitation," Coleman said. Cody folded his arms. "No one lives here." She photographed the pillow, clothing, phone charger, and food containers beside the mattress. Then discontinuing its use as a sleeping area should not be difficult. In the basement, Howard Lee stopped at the open panel. He examined the cable, the improvised connections, and the plywood wall narrowing access to the furnace. "Who installed this circuit?" he asked. Tyler raised his chin. "I did." "Are you a licensed electrician?" "I worked in HVAC." That wasn't my question. No. Lee tested the circuit. The breaker was on. The wire I had disconnected 9 days earlier had been energized again. One connection had begun to darken from heat. For a moment, I could hear nothing except the furnace fan. The children had slept one floor above it. Lee shut off the breaker, removed it from service, and attached a warning tag to the panel. This circuit remains de-energized until corrected and inspected by a licensed contractor. Tyler looked at me. He turned it off before. Maybe he damaged it. I met his eyes. You turned it back on. It was my work. That is the problem. Coleman inspected the blocked windows and measured the proposed rooms. Neither had an approved emergency exit. The plywood partitions interfered with access to mechanical equipment, and the propane heater was prohibited for the intended use. She entered notes on her tablet. No one sleeps in the basement or garage beginning immediately. All unapproved construction stops. The heater is removed from the structure. The electrical panel remains tagged until repaired. The property owner will receive a written compliance order. Tyler turned toward me with the beginning of a smile. See? He's the owner. He gets the violations. I folded my hands in front of me. Yes, ownership means I am responsible for correcting the property. He nodded as if he had won. Then Coleman opened the permit file. This application states that Frank Mercer authorized the alterations and signed the owner consent page. He did, Tyler said. I did not. Coleman looked at me. Do you have your ownership statement? I handed her the folder Susan had prepared. Inside were the deed, my signed affidavit, samples of my actual signature, photographs from my first visit, the written prohibition against alterations, screenshots of the room listings, and copies of the deposit confirmations. Coleman compared the signatures. The permit application is suspended, she said. The disputed owner authorization will remain attached to the file and be referred for review. Tyler's smile disappeared. He told me I could fix the house. Erica spoke from behind him. No, Tyler. You told me he had already given it to us. He turned. You went through my folder. You showed me the folder. You showed me the budget. You told me the basement rooms would pay for your van and the rent we owed. That money was for our family. You took deposits from people for rooms that could have caught fire. You don't understand what I was trying to build. I understand what you wrote. She held up her phone. Uncle Frank won't evict family. You weren't building a home. You were betting against him. The room became silent. Cody looked down at the floor. Inspector Coleman did not comment on their marriage. She continued documenting the house. Professionals rarely need dramatic speeches when the facts are strong. Tyler looked from Erica to me. You planned all this. No, I said. You submitted the permit. You scheduled the inspection. You turned the circuit back on. You brought lawyers into a family problem. I brought records into a property problem. I was trying to keep my children housed. I offered you 2 weeks of housing and help with an apartment. You wanted me to admit the house wasn't mine. It wasn't. He stepped closer. You promised my father you'd take care of me. I felt the old guilt rise once more. This time, it did not control my answer. I kept trying to protect you from the cost of your decisions, I said. I helped teach you to expect that. I won't do it again. For the first time since I entered the house, Tyler had nothing ready to say. Coleman handed me a preliminary notice listing the immediate hazards and required repairs. The formal compliance order would follow. I accepted it. The city's order did not remove Tyler. The inspector did not declare me victorious. No police officers rushed into the basement. The visit did something more useful. It created an independent record of the unsafe work, the illegal sleeping areas, the disputed permit, and the condition of the property, while Tyler controlled it. Evidence, not magic. Erica left with the children that afternoon. I paid the deposit and first month's rent directly to the manager of a modest 2-bedroom apartment near their school. Cody removed his tools and mattress from the garage before evening. Tyler remained in the upstairs bedroom for 12 more days while Susan completed the possession process. He threatened to fight. Then his own attorney reviewed the permit, inspection report, rental listings, deposit records, and Erica's photographs. The threats became negotiations. Tyler agreed to surrender the property by a fixed date, preserve all payment records, and repay the people who had given him deposits. The city referred the false authorization for further review. The matter ended through a formal diversion agreement requiring restitution, community service, and compliance with the law during the stated period. There was no dramatic courtroom speech. Real consequences are often quieter and harder to escape. For months, part of every paycheck Tyler earned went toward money he had taken from people who believed his promises. I paid nearly $9,000 to restore the house. The plywood partitions came out. The garage was cleared. A licensed electrician replaced the damaged wiring and examined every circuit Tyler had touched. Smoke and carbon monoxide alarms were installed in the required locations. The city approved the repairs after follow-up inspections. I lost several months of rent. My insurance covered none of the unauthorized alterations. I could have spent years describing how unfair that was. Instead, I accepted that the house was mine, and repairing it was my responsibility. Responsibility was not the same as blame. Marlene did not speak to me for several weeks. Then Erica showed her the budget page and Tyler's messages describing me as too sentimental to follow through. One Sunday afternoon, Marlene arrived at my house carrying a casserole dish. She set it on the counter and held the edge with both hands. "I was wrong," she said. I waited. I wanted to believe his version because it meant James's son was still only unlucky. I wanted to believe that too. She looked toward the window. "Do you hate him?" "No." "Will you forgive him?" I hope I stopped carrying anger. That doesn't mean he gets access to my property or my money again. She nodded slowly. It took both of us time to understand that forgiveness and access were not the same thing. 6 months later, Tyler wrote me a letter. He admitted that he had expected me to give in. He said he believed improving the property would eventually entitle him to it. He also blamed me for helping Erica leave. It was not a complete apology, but it was the first time he had described his own choices without claiming a landlord, employer, customer, or relative had forced him to make them. I waited 3 weeks before replying. I told him I hoped he became the kind of father his children could trust. I said I would consider meeting him after he completed restitution and counseling. Then I stated one permanent boundary. He would never live in, manage, inherit, or collect money from the Briarwood property. Love could remain. Access would not. The following spring, I rented the house to a nurse named Camille Brooks and her 10-year-old son, Noah. Camille arrived for the viewing 15 minutes early carrying a folder of references, employment records, and questions about the furnace, school route, and smoke alarms. Mrs. Alvarez would have approved. On move-in day, Noah chose the upstairs bedroom facing the maple tree. He pressed both hands against the glass and asked whether he could hang a bird feeder outside. "You can," I told him. "As long as we put it somewhere the squirrels have to work for their breakfast." Dorothy watched from across the street while Noah and I attached the feeder to a metal pole. When we finished, she adjusted the bright glasses hanging from her chain. "Looks like a family lives there again," she said. That evening, I drove past the house one more time. A lamp glowed in the front window. Fresh curtains hung in the dining room. The garage door was closed. The basement windows were clear, and a small red bicycle rested beside the porch. For months, I had believed restoring the house meant replacing wires, walls, and locks. I was wrong. The house was restored when it became shelter again instead of leverage. Elaine had called it our patient little house. She had been right. It waited through misuse, anger, inspections, and repair. Then it began giving again. Sometimes helping a grown man means opening your door. And sometimes it means closing that door before his choices burn down everything you spent a lifetime building. Tell me in the comments whether you would have given Tyler another chance, and subscribe for more wise dad stories about family, dignity, and the quiet strength to finally say, enough.